And alright guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video on the Self-Developed YouTube channel. Let's get it going, guys. How are you doing? This is week 3, yes, of the new series with Young Titan, guys. Come on, hopefully you guys have been enjoying daily uploads Monday through Saturday. You guys know what's up. Sunday is our record day. It's also the Lord's Day. That's a little debatable. Some people say it's Saturday, Sunday. Regardless, this is when we record. You're watching this on Monday, so let's get it going. Comment below for the algo. Tell me something about you. Where do you guys live? What time is it? You're part of Self-Developed Army, and we're going strong, guys. The movement is growing. The red pill is dying. Every day I see new YouTubers throwing in the towel, and we are starting a new revolution. So get your butt ready, get yourself some tea, kick back. This will always be on podcasts as well, so let's jump in. Titan, tell them what's up, man.
Yeah, man, let's get it. So, if you guys watched last week number 2, we talked a lot about not spinning plates, right? Waiting for your wife. Don't just go out there and taste the buffet, right? And we got a lot of questions from that, which was, how do you find your wife? And what's the courting process? Because we mentioned courting, right? You want to court, not date. And the prominent question was, how do you court and find your wife? So that's what I'm going to start off with, David.
Hey, yes, sir. Okay, guys. So a huge question I get from so many of you guys on Instagram. You guys know that on the Reels, I'm pretty controversial in my take with, dating and going against a red pill. It intrigues a lot of you, and you can feel it. You can deeply resonate with it. But this brings up the question, okay, David, you're telling me don't date, but I don't understand. How am I supposed to marry this woman if I don't date her, right? Because, on paper, our society tells you, you kind of test drive the car, right? I don't know, date for a few years, move in together, see if you check all the boxes. And I understand, guys, on paper, that does make sense. And I did this. I completely get it, guys. I was in a relationship for 5 years' time, and she actually lived with me for a few months' time. I've been there, okay? But the reality is, guys, number one, the stats don't lie. And number two, biblically, God doesn't want us to do this. So let me explain. When you guys are fornicating beforehand and you're test driving the car, you're living together, the stat of divorce, the stat of problems, the stat of sin drastically skyrockets. And speaking from experience, guys, direct experience, I never just speak of this because I read it in a book. I have to go through it. I relate with it. I was in a relationship for 5 years' time, and we became unequally yoked. Right? You guys need to keep in mind that women are not cars. We don't test drive them. One of the best things to do is, number one, before we even get to the courtship process, you, my friends, are on monk mode. So there's actually 3 steps with this, and I'm going to get Titan's take as well. Step number 1, before we get to courting, which I've made very clear to you guys, this is monk mode. What is monk mode? It is building yourself as a man, growing closer to God, essentially being like Christ, but also on a practical level, increasing your finances, right, for this partner. Do you understand? Guys, it's all beforehand. You don't go to war and then think, oh, I'll figure out a weapon as I go. No. You gain your weapons beforehand. You gain your resources, your battle plan, your, just your resources. So when you get to war, you're equally yoked. You understand? So it's learning the Word of God. It's studying the Bible. This is so important, guys, because if I just tell you the typical Andrew Tate red pill advice of just get your money up, get your fitness up, that's fine. But the reality is, the chance of divorce is still extremely high, and we know this through looking at the majority of the wealthy people in the world, right? Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, these guys will still get filed for divorces. The majority of wealthy actors, the best-looking men in the world, they can be NBA stars, because if you're not equally yoked, if you're not looking at this individual and vetting and courting them through a biblical lens, then it doesn't matter, guys. We still live in this flesh, and everyone's a sinner. So, to reiterate it, number 1, monk mode. I've been on monk mode for about a year and a half now. This is above all growing your connection to God and Christ, being more like Christ. It's essentially what it is at the end of the day. 2, it's gaining financial resource. So when you meet, you're ready to actually love and take care of a woman, right? We spoke about that in last week. It's increasing your fitness, your mindset, right? It's becoming the best you. Phase number 2, guys, okay? This is then courtship. Do you understand? So I say monk mode lasts usually 1 to 3 years. I've been on it for about a year and a half, and believe it or not, if I were to guess, I plan on meeting my wife or entering phase 2 within the next 6 to 12 months. I could be wrong, but that's kind of my estimate, okay? 1 to 3 years monk mode. Boom. Do not rush that process, okay? You rush it, God's going to send you an unequally yoked woman, trust me. Phase number 2, and I'll get Titan's take on this. You are now in courtship, and believe it or not, guys, through speaking to other individuals in my industry who are married, who are Christ-following individuals who are married, believe it or not, guys, the courtship process actually happens a lot faster than you think if you have done phase 1 correctly. So from what I know, guys, I say phase 2 is only 8 to 12 months. Yes, as crazy as that sounds, you're not dating for 3 years, you're not dating for 5 years, cohabitating, etc., etc. It's a waste of time, and I would argue then if you're dating for longer, dating, right? Really, it's courting, but if you're dating for longer than 1 to 2 years, you probably don't want to marry this woman, and you're only in it because of the prior. You're fornicating, it's fun, you're playing house together, and that does not work, guys. The stat of divorce, you can search all this up, astronomically goes up. I know I'm talking a lot, Titan, I'll get your take in a second. So with phase 2, like I said, with courtship, right, this is 8 to 12 months. Now you may be thinking, David, that's so fast. How 8 to 12 months? I mean, this is going to be the wrong woman. Well, here's the biggest distinguishing factor, my friend, and I'm glad you asked, because I know you were thinking about this. You are not fornicating. This is the whole point. Guys, we need to be sober and vigilant. This is 1 Peter 5:8. We cannot be dancing with the devil. What is this? We're moving into sin. You are not cohabitating. You are not fornicating. You are viewing this individual clearly and objectively, just like in a business sense. Do you understand? This is why I say it's courting and vetting. You're courting each other. And this is what they used to do way back in the day through our entire civilization up until around, I would say, maybe the last 100 years or so. Really, it was up until the 70s when the sexual revolution began to really become rampant. Before that, a son and the daughter would stay at their own houses and they would court each other, right? Really back in like king times, they would like essentially go and be like, hey, I want to marry your daughter. What do I have to do? A, B, C, D. And the king would court, right, for his daughter. But, we're in different times. So before I keep going, I'm going to get Titan's take on all of this, his take on monk mode, his take on courtship, what happens when you don't, when you just jump into it and test drive the water, and then I will explain or elaborate more on this, and we'll jump to phase 3. So go for it, Titan. I've been talking a while.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you have to realize is you want to set your goals higher. You want to aim higher than just having a woman, right? And if you throw a woman in the mix when you're not ready and you don't already have a clear outlined objective of what you want to accomplish, that will kind of become your end goal, and you'll be kind of complacent. It gives you the feeling of satisfaction and completion of your goals. Also, something I wanted to add, which isn't talked about a lot, and the reason why monk mode is necessary for girls is most people have not been on NoFap long enough, and it's not your fault. It's like we all grew up with the internet and porn, right?
Yep.
Your perception, no matter how good of a person you feel like you are subconsciously right now, of a woman is a sex object.
Yep.
Because that's the way your brain has been programmed. That's another reason why you want to do monk mode, and you want to combine that with NoFap and semen retention, because you look at girls without you even knowing it, most likely, as toys.
Yep.
And if you want a good marriage, you have to look at her as a person that you guys can share value, and she can truly help you. And it's not just wanting to fuck them or impress them.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. Good. Yeah, 100%, guys. Just like Titan said, and this is a complete different topic. Guys, we can speak about this for hours. I'm telling you, Titan's a pretty base guy, man. He can keep up, and he knows this stuff like I do, which you guys are beginning to wake up as well. Our society doesn't tell you to court and vet. What it tells you to do, because you have to understand, guys, this is all programmed. I'm just gonna say it to you guys. This whole dating culture, red pill, whatever you want to consider it, has all been programmed by the elites. Every single one. And like I said, it started with the sexual revolution back in the 70s. This was known as third wave feminism, okay? And you can search all this up in your own time, because I'm not going to get this taken down. You can do your own research on who started this, why they started, etc., etc. But the moral of the story is to break the nuclear family, right? And the way to break the nuclear family is to take away all traditional values. What are traditional values? Courting, vetship, Christ above all, God, family, marriage. Do you understand? These are all things that have built the society that we live in. Like I've said multiple times, Christianity built the West, and the elites know this. So what they're doing is they're completely removing that, and they're trying to turn us into a communist country. The reason for that is because we're much easier, we're very easily controlled, right, when we don't belong together, right? When there's no family, or there's no wife and husband, we're very malleable. Do you understand? This is also why you guys know the divorce rate's so high. The stat of nuclear families is below 20% in America, and we are entering a population collapse here in the West, right? In a few years' time, I've said this many times, 50, and I actually think the stat is probably at this point over 50% of women will be childless and single. I can speak from direct experience, because that stat is directly based on my age. I'm 25 years old, so in a few years' time, it's 2023 right now. My age is what they're referring to. My age and Titan's age, yeah, I don't know a single woman who wants to have a child my age. They've all been brainwashed to thinking that it's oppressive, that, the best thing they can do is just have their girls' nights out all the time and just get hammered and bang as many guys as they want and then become cat ladies. This is even my girlfriend, and I'm not throwing her under the bus or anything like that, but I would speak of children with her multiple times, and I could see it like in her eyes. She's like, I don't like kids. I don't want kids. And I'm thinking, what an L woman. Like you're literally here for one reason, and you don't even like that, so That's a completely different topic. Just to reiterate really quickly with you guys, like we said, phase one, this is monk mode. So yes, this will include, I didn't even mention it, but Titan did. This will, of course, include retention. That's a huge proponent of this, guys, because we are ridding ourselves of sin, right? That was kind of a given. I said, we're being like Christ, and fapping is a sin, whether you guys believe it or not. Jesus in the book of Matthew says it's better to cut off your own right arm than it is to enter hell with both attached. And he was referring to fapping because the verse afterwards was referring to lust with your eyes. So it's why else would he say right hand, guys? To do work? No, it's in a sexual context. So number one, you're on monk mode. Phase two, guys, this is what I believe I will enter soon, if it's in God's will, because I need to make this very clear, and I'll get Titan's take on this again, because I don't want to just talk the whole time. You guys need to understand, I always say if it's in God's will, all right? And if I look a little Asian and tired, that's because I had a late night last night, so excuse my Asian eyes, guys. Phase two, let's say God sends you a wife. And I know this upsets a lot of people. They're like, David, you think God's just going to send you your wife? And it blows my mind that, like, people question that, yet they'll pray for everything else. You know, they'll be like, oh, Christians, God created the entire earth, the winds, the birds, the trees, physics, laws of nature, but he can't send you your wife. Like, it blows my mind how they laugh at that. They're like, oh, he can do everything, but that he can't do. It's like, you have no faith. You have no faith at all. If you're a true Christian, guys, with Adam and Eve, woman is created for man. Eve was created from Adam's rib. I truly believe, and I know this from experience, just like even with meeting Titan, any single individual business partner, past relationship, friend that I've met that has been very beneficial has happened organically. I ran into them out of nowhere. Dude, with Titan, he's a business partner I have now. I didn't know he was a person. I went to Florida to go with Nick, and Nick, out of everyone, was like, hey, I have this one buddy. And I was like, I was kind of confused at first. I was like, bro, I don't really care. Like, I'm not trying to meet people. You know, he was like, oh, he's the young guy. He wants to tag along. And I was like, bro, I don't got time for this. Like, we got to do interviews and stuff. And lo and behold, it's Titan. This guy's like a videographer. He knows all this stuff. He watches the channel. Now fast forward, right? So please, guys, you need to start having faith. But to reiterate it here, monk mode, you're then in the courtship process, which is 8 to 12 months, where you meet this woman organically when God sees you're fit. Because make no mistake, the reason God's not sending you guys your wife and you complain, you're like, oh, it's not real, is because you haven't done phase one. You're still fapping every weekend. You're watching, you know what? Why would God send you one of his daughters if you can't even control yourself? That's how you guys need to begin to view it. You as men, we're first God's chosen ones, meaning like we're the first up with rank and responsibility, all right? We're the leaders, we're the warriors. Why would God send you one of his precious daughters if he realizes that you're a bad leader? It's not going to happen, right? So he sends you his wife or your potential wife. You then vet her for 8 to 12 months, okay? And I will document all of this, guys, if and when it happens to myself, too. What is vetting, okay? And I'll get Titan's take on this, because I didn't even answer the question. It's like 15 minutes. I didn't even tell you about vetting. You are just seeing if you're equally yoked, guys. That's it. We're supposed to test the spirit, do you understand? And we know a tree by its fruits, meaning if, you know, God sent you this woman, and the reality is, it might be an agent, so actually Satan sent you that. These are known as Jezebel spirits. This is very important, man. We're gonna go viral. There's no question. No one speaks about this stuff. It's so crazy. They'll just tell you to spin more plates and bang her, and as long as you can do cartwheels, then like you're good to go. It's so satanic. You need to test the spirit. Are you equally yoked? Is she following Christ just as hard as you are? Is she on her female version of monk mode, meaning she's not in the club, she's not twerking on tables, doing all this, you know, satanic stuff. She's reading the word, she's holding on to her chastity. She's on her version of retention, which just means like, you know, she's not watching the websites, you know, she's equally yoked, and she loves and supports you, meaning she wants to support you on your mission. It feels like a Batman and Robin, like she's your helpmate, you know? Like, guys, we got to be very sober and honest with ourselves with this. And then to finish it there, once you have realized after 8 to 12 months, which, believe it or not, is plenty of time. If you guys are not fornicating, you're not cohabitating, you're being very objective, and you're testing this person's soul as she's testing yours for over 8 months. If you don't know at that point, either A, you're just BSing yourself, or B, you know it's not her and you're just holding on, you're hoping. We're not hoping here, guys. We're sober and vigilant. You're objective. It's like a business. You don't go to an employer and do 8 months of interviews, right, Titan? You don't go to a university and you're there for 8 months. No. You got to test quick. And then from that, guys, if you make it to phase 3, this is marriage. You are blessed with such an amazing helpmate, guys, and I truly wish you the best, and that's the path I will follow. But if that is not in your case, let's say it's not her, you're like, okay, you know what? I'm not ready. It's not her. You revert back to phase 1, which is monk mode. So Tide and Gopher, any thoughts? Run it.
Yeah, so I think the underlying concept, or 3 of them that I could come up with right now, is personal responsibility as a man. So running away from the red pill, all women are hoes stuff. Personal responsibility, understanding and having an analysis of the demoralization, like wide scale demoralization that's happening, and then reflection on the past and being able to see. So I'll share a little bit of my own personal testimony. The one relationship that I was in for a very long time, and this is like this was like 2 years ago at this point, but only in the last 6 months really have I understood and took responsibility for the fact that a good part of it was my fault, and I blamed this person for a long time. But even though she had this, you could say Jezebel spirit, right, and would do these things, I would have constant lapse in judgments, and I wasn't able to guide her correctly because I was demoralized. And if I'm demoralized and I'm contributing it to her, I can't blame her solely for what happened. There has to be responsibility you take for yourself. If you're not demoralized in a situation like that, and you're on monk mode, and you have prepared yourself for a woman, you will be able to either help them, guide them correctly, right? Like what could have maybe saved mine, or before you even get into a relationship with them, you can judge them, be like, no, right, and save yourself from that situation. The biggest thing, I think, is once you know all this stuff, because we talk about it a lot. I mean, if you watch me and David, most of this you already know. You know what to do. The second biggest thing is taking personal responsibility and also looking at your past, because you likely have experiences in your past that can teach you about this. But yeah, responsibility is number one. I think that's what a lot of things in my past that were still like really messing with me from a long time ago, I was able to heal by actually accepting that I was in the wrong in some ways.
Yeah, amen, guys. We'll just finish it here. I truly do believe the biggest differentiating factor between dating and courting is just what Titan said. It's responsibility, right? What is red pill in a nutshell, guys? And this is not... Again, I don't really care, guys. Each to their own. At this point, I've dusted off my shoes. You don't cast your pearls upon the swine. Like they live their own life. I've tried, but the biggest difference is responsibility. With red pill, it's all the women. For some reason, all these red pill guys are perfect, right? They're all perfect, and the women are all hoes. They can't do this. They're too masculine, A, B, C, D, but the men are perfect. It doesn't make sense, guys. Okay, so it's complete hypocrisy. There's no responsibility. Where with courtship, it's realizing, right? Because what is monk mode in essence? It's looking yourself in the mirror and realizing how sinful you are, how ungodlike you are, and it's cleansing that very slowly. That is the epitome of responsibility. And from that, guys, in the Bible it says, if you don't do this, a wicked woman is given over to a wicked man. Remember that. That's red pill. A wicked woman is given over to a wicked man. So we don't want to be wicked, but we're going to finish it there, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this. We will now check you in the next video and or question. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's YouTube clip. As always, the full episode will be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify linked below. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. Titan's links will be below, and I will finish here on the final plug. If you guys are interested and would like to work with me on a personal level at anything of what we talked about in today's video, or on a more practical level, improving things like your fitness, business, mindset, relationships, and spiritual connection to Christ, there is always one-on-one coaching below. Spots are open, and I love speaking with you guys on a more personal level. You guys can support Edge, coupon code developed, you know what's up, and I'll check you next episode. Till then, much love, peace.